our speaker who shall be taking us through the lesson as we learn at your feet. May your Holy Spirit be upon him and may you touch his lips as he speaks your word. We pray that your blessings be upon us this day. Just we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for the prayer and the song. Our afternoon lesson will be led by Brother Thamsanqa Tshuma. Forgive me if I'm failing to pronounce your name, Brother Tshuma. But yeah, Brother Thamsanqa is coming from Pretoria Eastern Suburbs SDA Church, and he will be giving us the afternoon lesson. He may further introduce himself if need be. Brother Tshuma, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As the elder has indicated, my name is Thamsanqa Tshuma, and he said it very clearly and the way it's supposed to be pronounced. I'm a father. I'm a husband of one wife, a father of two daughters, and I also host a family life podcast. And when I say family life podcast, I don't mean that we only talk about marital issues. We talk about everything. Before you get married, the social issues that affect us as human beings. So each and every Friday, we've got a podcast called the Golide FM podcast that we share. And if you're interested, you can listen to that podcast. Well, it's always interesting that I'm talking to people and I can't see the people. I'm talking to people in faith that they are there and listening. I can only see maybe about that. I can only see by statuses that there are people sitting there somewhere in Pretoria, somewhere, I don't know where, listening to my voice. And it is my hope that along the line down the road, we will engage, we will interact, and it won't be a monologue. It will be us discussing with one another. And as indicated, I more or less enjoy talking about social and or maybe let me say family issues. And I just want to start off by my own personal story. It was I grew up with about three brothers, though I've got a greater family than that. So there were three of us, in fact. So my brother decided to get married in the year 2000. So when he got married, shortly thereafter, my father died. When my father died, then my mother says to me, "When are you getting married?" And that is the title of our discussion this afternoon. And it might seem like it's only for those that are not yet married, but as we tie things together, it will also talk to those that are married. So I understand I'm talking to academics, I'm talking to people who are studying. So what we want to we want to address two sides of the coin. We want to address those that are married, those that are not married. But we will start off with those that are not yet married. And I want to start off with that personal story. So my mother says to me, "When are you getting married?" And my mother was very strong-headed. She was opinionated. She had very strong opinions about what she wanted us to do in life, where she wanted us to go. I remember at one time she wanted me to be a pastor, and we had a very huge argument about me being a pastor. We even went to see the pastors who were on her side, and I was supposed to go to university and study to be a pastor. I refused, and I questioned my mother to say, "Why should I be a pastor? It's not in my vision nor in my dreams." Because my father had also refused to be a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor. My father refused. I refused. Then eventually my mother gave up. So around 2000, 2001, 2002, she says, when are you getting married? Because your father is dead and now I remain, and if you don't get married soon, I will die. So as usual between me and my mother, there was always an argument about what she wanted me to do at which point. So I said, I am not going to get married anytime soon. And then she says, also, you want me to die? And then none of us will see you getting married. And that thing ate me up, but I simply refused to get married. I simply refused to get married. So my mother was diabetic. So it meant she used to go to hospital regularly and she used to go for checkups and so forth. So one day she goes to hospital for a week. And when she's in hospital, she meets a young nurse. I don't know. They strike up a relationship. She's Adventist. My mom comes out of hospital. She says to me, I found you a wife. I said to my mother, I remember my exact words were to her, if you want this young lady to get married, then you will get married to her, not me. And my mother, we had a huge argument. And eventually, I said to my mother, I'm actually going to get married in about 10 years' time, if not more than that. And my mother was not happy about that. So in 2005, eventually, my mother passes away. And I was still not yet married. And I was still far from getting married in 2005. So, when she was about to die, I decided maybe, because you could see the signs that are there that this person might not make it. I decided maybe let me look for a girlfriend and get married and let me make her happy. But still something was not, I was not there. I mean, so I always used to question myself, if I get a girlfriend and get married, then what? I always had that question in my mind, to such an extent that even when I thought about having a girlfriend, I would say, if I've got a girlfriend, then what? And so it was during those years that I was actually also in tertiary. So I went to tertiary around 1998. And tertiary was exciting. I mean, you get there, I had been to a boys' school. I had never learned with girls for a long time. And I get there, there's girls, it's exciting. I mean, I'm talking to girls, and first year, it's exciting. Second year, now I'm almost, I'm feeling I'm a senior, though I'm not a senior. There are first years, you strike up relationship with first years. It's exciting. But I kept on asking myself this question: if I have a girlfriend, then what? And within the Adventist church, there's always this statement that when you're at a certain age, people will begin to ask you, when are you getting married? And I will be honest with you. From the very onset, that question is very irritating for me. I do not like that question. And I don't know if I can get responses. How many of us like that question? Those that are not yet married, or even those that are married. How many of us like that question, to be asked that question? When are you getting married? When are you getting a boyfriend? When are you getting a girlfriend? How many of us, maybe if we can indicate, I don't know how we indicate on this platform, but if there's any of us who like that question or who don't like that question, can you please indicate one way or the other your feelings toward that question, or you can unmute yourself and give your thoughts around that question. I seriously did not like that question and do not like it up to now. And I do not ask anyone that question. I remember my best friend, still my best friend, he used to ask me, when are you getting married? I got married. Then he says, Daniel, Wellington says he doesn't like it. Yeah. So when I got married, my friend says, and Mwaka, Siaka Wenda, I hope I pronounced it well. Yes, that is a very irritating question. So my friend says, when are you getting married? Eventually, I got married. Then he says, when are you having a child? I got a child. Then he says, when are you having a second one? I had the second one. Then he says, when are you having the third one? The questions never end. Grace also doesn't like that question. In actual fact, I will tell you the reasons why I don't like that question. Nicolana, I can see also you don't like that question. I'll tell you the reasons why. You know, now that I've got married, I discovered that marriage is not pap and place. Marriage is not for the faint-hearted. Marriage is not for the weak. I grew up in a time where when somebody went to school and went to tertiary and got an education, then the next step was to get married. And I don't know what it was in my mind and in my heart that said to me, I'm not going to do this. Why should I rush to get married? I want to enjoy life. And now sometimes it sounds very un-Adventist to say you want to enjoy life. I'll be honest with you. I wanted to enjoy life, and I still want to enjoy life in my own way, in a way that the family also enjoys now that I'm married. So now I wanted to enjoy. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to have trips. I remember before I got married, I used to say to myself, oh, this weekend I want to be in the Eastern Cape. I would catch a bus, go down to Eastern Cape. I would say, I want to be in Mpumalanga. I would go to Mpumalanga, spend 3 days in Mpumalanga. I want to be in KZN. Now that I'm married, I can't even wake up one morning and say, I want to go. I have to plan in advance. I have to even, we have to discuss and budget huge sums of money. You've got children, you want to entertain them. And that freedom has gone. And I also had this perception to say, if I'm getting married, it means I'm giving away part of myself. And at that time, I was not prepared to give up my freedom. I mean, let's be honest, marriage is about giving up certain freedoms. As I indicated, to say, you can't just wake up and say, I'm going where. Or you can't say, oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends and come back midnight. Not that I used to do that. I was not allowed to do that at home. But I used to love having fun. I used to love doing certain things. Now, why I'm going into the main reasons why I hate this question. And we will read from the Bible. And when we begin to read from the Bible, it will begin to touch on the married people also. If what I'm saying, when are you getting married? The question that I have for people is, have you prepared me for marriage? Let me repeat that one. If you are asking me the question, when are you getting married? I tend to think to myself, or I tended to think or pose that question, have you prepared me for marriage? And I want to say this, statistics have shown that most people who get married, almost 80% or between 60 and 80% of people who get married are normally not prepared, are not ready to get married. They're not ready to be in a union, because once people get married, there is the honeymoon stage. And studies have shown, if you read so many books, listen to so many researchers, studies have shown that marriage has got a 2-year honeymoon phase. People are excited for the first 2 years. After the first 2 years, reality then strikes. You are no longer driven by adrenaline. You are no longer driven by emotions. Now you are in a sober state of mind. You are in a point where you are saying, I have to give what I promised. Now, marriage, they say for better or for worse. So I used to ask myself, what is the worst part that they're talking about? And so they want me to get married in this thing where there's this worst part. I'm not yet prepared for this worst part. I might be prepared for the better part, but the worst part I'm not yet prepared for. And so when people say I don't like this question, sometimes it's normally also someone saying, who are you to ask me when I'm going to take the next phase of my life? Do you understand where I am? Maybe I'm not financially prepared. You are asking me about when am I getting married? I'm not yet financially prepared. Maybe I'm going through a lot of personal and emotional challenges. You are asking me, when am I getting married? Maybe I'm even struggling to get a girlfriend. I don't know how to ask a woman out. I don't even know how to propose to a young girl. I don't know what terminology we use. I don't even know how to say to a girl, can we go out? Can I be your friend? Or as a lady, guys are not approaching me. Guys are not asking me out. Or even when they do ask me out, it doesn't work out. We go our separate ways. I've gone out with guys or girls and I've thought something will work out, and eventually nothing works out. And people don't even know those struggles. You are at tertiary level, you are even struggling with your self-identity at tertiary level. Tertiary for me was very exciting and very confusing at the same time. It was exciting because there was freedom, confusing because there were so many precepts or concepts that were out there that I'd never even thought existed, not thought about them. And so here I am, and there are different types of characters at tertiary level. They are saying, let's go this way, let's go that way. You are confused. I look at the University of Pretoria. You just go there to Hatfield. You look at the kind of characters that are walking down the street. It's confusing for a guy. Here you are coming from a village somewhere maybe in the northwest. You're coming from a small town, and you come into Pretoria, and voila, you see all these curbs. You see all these characters. You see these hunks. You see the haves and the have-nots. And so it becomes confusing, it becomes challenging. And somebody asks you the question, when are you getting married? Or maybe you are at a point where you're making some certain income, and that income is not necessarily for you and you alone. You've got families to take care of, where you come from, or your parents, or your young sisters, or your brothers within the African society taking care of each other. And somebody is asking you, when are you getting married? Tolani has got a question. Can I say that question that Tolani popped up? I don't know who's in control. There's a question that Tolani popped up. I could not read the whole of it.
If you go to the messages section, then you'll find all the questions there, or all the chats
there. Okay. It's the first time I've actually used this, but anyway, I'm there. So what if the question is asked in the sense that they see that you are destroying many ladies because of lack of temperance? Well, that's a very brilliant question. Yes, that is a good question. So if it is asked in that sense, it is a fair question. Why are you wasting other children's time and resources? It would be a very good question, because as I said, if you're going to ask somebody out, or if you're going to say yes to somebody asking you out, let there be a purpose. Why are you together? Why do you like this person? Why do you want to be with this person? What is it that you want to achieve? I'll tell you, my wife is actually on this platform. The day I asked her out, she said to me, what is it that you want from me? Why are you asking me out? I said to her, I want to get married to you. I want you to marry me. Let me put it that way. I want you to marry me. Already I had a purpose. I had a plan. I knew where I wanted to go. You can't just be go and chase people for no reason. This is where we have got one-night stands, where we end up having sexually transmitted infections or diseases. This is where we have got broken hearts. This is where people begin to say there's baby mama drama. You know what? Maybe I'm digressing a bit, but when there's a woman who's giving baby mama drama in your life as a guy, I say, good on that young girl, good on that young woman. Why did you give her a child and then leave her? Good. You are reaping the consequences of your actions. Good on you. You should have made a woman out of her. So so to answer your question, Olan, if they're asking in that sense, then it's fair, because we can't waste other people's time. So moving on. So I then asked myself, as I was, in this phase of tertiary, I said to myself, what is marriage? And so that question I've asked myself from those years right up to today, I'm still asking myself this question: what is marriage? And I went into the Bible. And the first time you read about marriage, not in the sense that they say Adam got married to Eve, but you can sense that, you can read and understand that Adam and Eve got married together, and the one who gave Eve to Adam was God the Father. And so you can understand that marriage is a union of two people. And the interesting part of marriage is this: it is two different characters. It doesn't matter that you speak the same language. It doesn't matter that you come from the same economical background. It doesn't matter that you speak, you went to the same school. It doesn't matter. Marriage is the union of two totally different people. 101%, if there's something like that, different people, they now get married. And so I asked myself, if I get married to this person, what am I there to give them? And so the not only the African perception or the African thinking, it's all worldwide. They say when you get married, a man has got to provide. A man has got to provide. Take care of the family. And then they say the woman has got to respect her husband and submit. And I said to myself, come on, there's more to marriage than just providing. There's more to marriage than just waking up and going to work and coming back and putting food on the table, paying the electricity bill, paying the bond. There's more to marriage than a woman submitting to a man. There's more to marriage than that. And so I said, I'm not satisfied with this status quo where people say, when are you getting married? And they don't prepare me for this. And I would look at these women, especially in church, they would run around, serve their husbands. Their husbands are laughing. They're like bulls, And I'm thinking, is this really what I want to be? Do I want to be in this status? Do I want to be this man who is feared? And, I just wanted more out of life. So when somebody was asking me, when are you getting married? What is it that I'm going to gain out of marriage? So I wanted to know that. And so if you are one of those people in that choir that says to people, when are you getting married? I want to ask you the question, when did you prepare that person to get married? If you are one of those people that are being asked, when are you getting married? I just want you to say, I want you to put this in your mind, to say, why should I get married? If you begin to ask yourself that question, why should I get married? If you begin to ask people, why should I get married? Then they should be able to give you a reason and an answer why you should get married. But in the same vein, you should be able to answer yourself as to why you should get married. So now I then said, okay, let me go into the Bible. And I would want us to go into the Bible. And when we look at the Bible, what I want us to do, I want us to understand a certain thing about marriage. Marriage affects the economy. Marriage affects the government. Marriage affects education systems. Marriage affects political systems. Marriage affects your university life. Marriage affects, whether in the positive or in the negative. Marriage affects everything. I mean, even the road accidents, even the crime rate in the country is affected by the marriage the marriages that are there, or the marriages that should have been there, or the marriages that are not there. So the union of two people affects everything, and we will understand why as we go on. So hence I'm saying, before you ask the question to say, when are you getting married? You should understand what marriage affects. You should understand what marriage brings into the society. So let me start by reading from the book of Ephesians chapter 5, and it's a chapter that we almost hear regularly at family life seminars. And so let's read it. From verse 21, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21. Submitting yourselves to one another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any, sorry, I've just lost track there, or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. May the good Lord bless the reading of his word now and forevermore. Amen. Now, let me start there with the men. I do not want to start with the ladies. And here's the biggest question I ever asked myself when I read this verse. I said, what does it mean to love my wife as Christ has loved the church? I paused there. So now you want me to get married. The Bible says I should love this woman as Christ has loved the church. Do I even know what it is, how Christ has loved the church? Do I even know? Do I even understand what it is? And you are saying I should go into this huge, this is a headache you are giving me. How do I love this woman as Christ has loved the church? Have you taught me how Christ has loved the church? Have you shown me how Christ has loved the church? Have you trained me how Christ has loved the church? And I just want to pose a question to all of us today to say, how has Christ loved the church? Because many of us go into this thing excited by what we will gain. But we don't question ourselves as to what is it that I'm supposed to bring to the table. If you're going to go into a relationship, whether you're a boyfriend or a girlfriend, always ask yourself this question: what am I bringing to the table? What is this other human being going to benefit from me? If you're going to have a girlfriend, ask yourself, what am I going to give this young woman? Besides the monetary things or the materialistic things, what is it that I'm going to give her that is going to benefit her? As a young woman, when you allow a young man into your life, the question is, what is it that you are going to give him, in the sense that he will grow and become a better person and grow closer to God? Because every relationship that we're in should be bringing us closer to God. So as those that are married, as men that are married on this platform, the question is, are you loving your wives as Christ has loved the church? Do you understand what it is, what Paul meant when he said, as Christ has loved the church? Have you researched on how Christ loved the church? Have you researched on how Christ sanctified the church and brought the church to him and presented the church to himself? When we talk about sanctification, we're saying something that was dirty, something that was not clean, something that was not presentable. But what did I do? I cleaned it up. When I cleaned it up, I said, oh, come here. Let me look at you. Oh, how beautiful. Look at those curves. Look at those eyes. Look at, oh, how beautiful you are. Oh, I've washed you. And so the question is, as husbands or as boyfriends, have we got that capability of sanctifying, of cleansing, of making these women presentable unto us? And hence, when you hear a man say to a woman, come on, you're no longer beautiful, you've lost figure. I said that man is foolish. That man is foolish. Because as a man, when a woman loses her figure, it is your duty to make her regain that figure. It is your duty to make her regain that figure and become as beautiful as you want her to be. If your girlfriend is no longer as beautiful as she was, as a boyfriend, it is your duty to make her beautiful. Where she is lacking, it is you to help her to gain. As a husband, it is your duty to make your wife. I mean, let's be honest. When your wife gives birth, she loses something. She loses her figure. You know, when we meet these young women, they are so beautiful, they're so curvaceous, and they give birth to children. A child does something to a woman's body. A child changes the shape of a woman's body. She changes the shape of her breasts. She changes the shape of her figure. And Christ is saying, love your wife even when her figure is changed. Why love your wife even when she takes out her breasts and this child is sucking the strength out of it, sucking the shape out of it? Christ is saying, love him, love her. Christ is saying, even when she has lost her confidence in her own beauty, because women get to a point where they lose their confidence in the sense of their beauty, because they're always seeing another woman as more beautiful than them. Christ is saying, love her. Even before they get married, women even want to be reassured that they are beautiful, they are loved. So as a young man, practice the skill of confirming to your girlfriend that she's beautiful. Nurture her by your words. As a young man, practice the skill. So when I was in tertiary, I had a friend who was a girl. We were tight friends. So she would come, beautiful, and she would rock up to college, and I would say to her, when we're so tight, and eventually she asked me one day, when you see me, what do you see? Do you see a woman or do you see a guy? I said to her, I see my body.